普通俺は自分が困るとすぐ泣き抜かすアマちゃんは大嫌いだがよ。この親子は違う。
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a big chunk of media, like really big. The comics or manga have been ongoing for the last 33 years and have shifted protagonists like most shonen go through villains. I mean, we're talking about a piece of media that's only a year younger than Dragon Ball, an anime that's basically redefined what anime is and can be. But while JoJo's was never unpopular, it was always kind of overshadowed by more successful pieces of Japanese media like Dragon Ball, Naruto, and One Piece. Then in 2012, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure got the anime adaptation it deserved, and from there the show's popularity exploded. As the show went through several protagonists, the discussion of who the best protagonist was obviously followed. But one thing that is generally agreed upon is who's the show's best girl. That, almost universally, was the character of Robert EO Speedwagon. REO Speedwagon befriended the Joestar family well before he made his fortune, but he would eventually create a business empire spreading across funding many of the family's expeditions and basically serving as an uncle figure to Joseph Joestar, the grandson of his friend Jonathan. So let's get into it and figure out just how much is REO Speedwagon worth. And of course, consider this your official spoiler warning for a good bit of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And hey, while we're here, comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. It definitely helps the algorithm not hate my channel. And follow me on Twitter at 10kbill to yell me about anything I may have missed. Robert EO Speedwagon was born October 16, 1863 in London, England. We don't know a ton about his family or early life, but judging off the fact that the first time we see him is in an alley on Ogre Street, what is considered in the JoJo's universe to be the most dangerous part of London, it's safe to assume that his family wasn't exactly well off. In fact, the first time we actually see REO Speedwagon is when he's 25 years old and fights Jojo in that alley in 1888. During the fight, Speedwagon manages to sniff out that Jonathan Joestar is actually a pretty stand-up guy. After following Jojo back to the Joestar family home, Speedwagon almost immediately proves his worth by calling out Dio for being a truly evil person and saving Jonathan from a sneak attack. Speedwagon and Jojo would spend the next bit of time hunting down Dio. After they believe they've achieved victory, Jonathan and his new wife set off on their honeymoon, and Jonathan meets his unfortunate end. While mourning for his friend, Speedwagon decides to head to America, and here is where his fortune really begins to build. While in America, Speedwagon discovers oil, and that leads him to, in 1910, found the Speedwagon Foundation. But exactly how much is he making just off the oil? Well, for that, let's take a look at another pretty well-known oil baron, John D. Rockefeller, someone widely considered to be the wealthiest person in US history. Rockefeller's company, Standard Oil, in 1904 actually controlled 91% of oil refinement and 85% of final sales in the US. That's a pretty hefty amount. According to the book The Problem with Trust in America, the company had average profits of $60 million a year and paid out around $40 million of that per year to dividends from 1896 to 1906. That's in $1,900, not adjusting for inflation today. We'll assume that Speedwagon owns the vast majority of the company he founded and named after himself. We'll be giving him 90% of the company. If the company was paying out an average of $40 million per year, he would be getting $36 million of that each and every year. To put how much money we're actually talking about into perspective, today that amount of money would be $1,328,021.69 every year.
Nice.
But the thing is, that's not all the money that Speedwagon would be making, because the company has a few other major branches that would be generating some income, but not nearly as much as the oil fields would be. One of these would be the medical research branch of the Speedwagon Foundation. After some quick Googling, I think we'll be comparing the medical research aspect of the company to Covance. While the company itself makes around $2 billion per year, we'll be giving REO Speedwagon the equivalent of the company's CEO's salary. The other major branch of the company is the tech division. For this branch, we'll be comparing it to Forrester Research, a tech research company that brings in a little over $300 million a year. Once again, we'll be giving Speedwagon the equivalent of the CEO salary, which this time would be around $850,000. And of course, all these numbers will be adjusted each and every year for inflation. There is one other major aspect of the company still left to talk about: the archaeological excavations and studies into supernatural phenomenon such as stands and the Pillar Men. The University of Pittsburgh awards out 10 $8,000 grants each year to archaeological digs. For our estimates, we'll be assuming that Speedwagon and not his foundation are spending about 5 times that, or $400,000. Now's as good a time as any to talk about how we're going to be doing our math. We'll be adding up all the revenue sources, doing some tax math, and subtracting any major expenses like the archaeological digs. From here, we'll be splitting what's left into 2 different places. For the first bit, we'll be placing 15% of what's left into a bank account for him, gaining 3% interest each and every year. We'll also be having him invest 84% each and every year into various investments that'll be gaining an average of 15% interest. We'll be having him live off the remaining 1% that he's making each year. While that sounds like not a lot to live on, our estimates have 1% actually being over $300,000 back in the early 1900s, which today would be the equivalent of a little over $9 million. Enough for him to still live incredibly lavishly. A few more important things to note. For this, we're going to be working under the assumption that, unlike John D. Rockefeller and Standard Oil, Speedwagon and the Speedwagon Foundation are able to convince the US government that they're not a monopoly and are able to avoid being broken up. The other thing to quickly mention is that Steel Ball Run won't be taken into account because that's actually in an alternative reality or different continuity, and thus isn't technically canon. From this point on, we can go through roughly 42 years worth of math to 1952 when REO Speedwagon dies. By this point, REO Speedwagon would have $578,246,608.04 in his bank account. His investments would be worth $157,529,630,660, meaning that Robert EO Speedwagon, the man who apparently changed the course of the US economy, is worth $158,107,877,268.63, which is an absolutely astounding amount of money. But it gets even crazier when you look at how much that would be today, which would be $1,544,488,386,610.06, which means that today Speedwagon would be roughly as rich as the country of Russia. Not bad. But anyways, this has been 10K Bill, and thanks for watching. Comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. Follow me on Twitter at 10K Bill to yell at me about anything I may have missed. Support us on our Patreon if you like the show and want to see more content like it. And of course, make sure you subscribe for all your entertainment related content.